Digital pictures are a powerful part of modern folklore. Where there's the limitation of satellite imaging and someone with a bit of a devious imagination and some Photoshop skills, they can do a great job at creating myths. In January 2026, an image ignited a firestorm on the internet. A Google Earth screenshot that supposedly showed a massive entity lurking just east of the Virginia coastline. It was captioned with the ominous, "The Leviathan is waking up." The post circulated and rapidly mutated into a viral meme that combined data, satellite mapping, and apocalyptic scripture interpretation. Of course, the Leviathan is fake. It's a geographic deep fake taking Antarctic tectonic structures and placing them into the North Atlantic. But it generated fear. And it shows us how the internet processes fear, faith, and strange things on our planet. The picture that captured the public imagination was a dark serpentine shape appearing in the Atlantic waters next to Virginia and North Carolina. The shape had a interesting textured surface that many users saw as scales or ridges with distinct protrusions at the head that resembled eyes. But when looked at under a more discerning analysis, it was quickly established that this was not some scary entity or even a localized underwater formation, but some clever photoshopping. The Leviathan off the coast of Virginia is a scaled down and cropped image of the Scotia Arc, a natural formation of islands and submarine mountains located in the Scotia Sea between the southern tip of South America and the Antarctic Peninsula. This is a tectonic feature. It's the result of the complex movement of the South American and Antarctic plates. Remember those? Which created a sinuous horseshoe-shaped system that bears a striking resemblance to a massive sea serpent. The person who created this image took features of the Scotia Arc to simulate the head and body. The eyes of the beast were the South Shetland Islands, and the nose and snout were the volcanic islands of the South Sandwich Trench. By taking these deep southern formations and putting them into the shallow continental shelf waters of the mid-Atlantic, the creator of the hoax was taking something that the general public would not have necessarily recognized to lend credibility to his hoax. This is the story of the Virginia Leviathan. Let's get spooky. Hey, spooky people, it's your best friend Kenny, and we are back with another disturbing story. As with most internet fakes, the picture itself had evidence of the fact that it was a fraud. Investigations into the elements visible in the viral post identified fishbone icons marking several locations within mainland Virginia and the North Carolina area. These icons are not usually on Google Earth or Google Maps. They were traced back to a specific resource that is used for education, a teacher's Weebly page hosting a Google Earth activity for students to identify Virginia's major river systems. The original screenshot on the teacher's site showed the drainage basins of the James, York, and Rappahannock rivers. The person who forged this image had taken these pre-existing educational photos as a base layer and digitally superimposed the Scotia Arc into the Atlantic portion of the frame. This is called layer stacking. This technique allows the creator to maintain an aura of authenticity while including genuine land-based labels and markers to introduce this Leviathan into the environment. The Leviathan hoax was amplified by a severe meteorological event. Between January 24th and January 27th, there was a massive winter storm that swept across the eastern United States, bringing record-breaking snow and ice to Virginia and the surrounding states. This real-world weather crisis was the perfect narrative anchor for this digital myth. As people poured over weather radar maps to track the incoming storm, some of the online community began to claim that the storm was not a natural occurrence. They started claiming it was some sort of government cover-up. Influential social media accounts on places like Twitter and Facebook began circulating a theory that the Leviathan is waking up near Virginia, and that the military was manipulating the weather to hide the creature's emergence. The story was that the extreme cold and the fake snowstorm were engineered to freeze the surface of the sea to protect coastal military bases from the creature's movements and to create a visual barrier to prevent civilians from observing the Leviathan. They said the presence of multiple military installations in the Virginia Beach and Norfolk areas were evidence that the government was actively engaged in a containment operation. The proof for this military action was found in radars. During the storm, weather radar in the Virginia area showed unusual things. And while these were likely things that were deployed by military aircraft during routine training or exercises, the public interpreted them as signs of an active battle with the beast. One fascinating aspect of this Leviathan phenomenon is the way that it became more than a conspiracy theory to enter the realm of digital theology. The people who believed in it treated the image as theological confirmation. By taking this Google Earth anomaly and adding the context of biblical texts, a collective analysis emerged that made this Virginia Leviathan part of an end times prophecy. The term Leviathan in the biblical context refers to a creature of monstrous power, often used as a symbol for chaos or the enemies of God. During the 2026 online hoax, there were three primary scriptures that were cited. Isaiah 27:1 that described the sinuous serpent of Isaiah, Leviathan, the gliding serpent, Leviathan, the coiling serpent, stating that God will punish the monster with his fierce, great, and powerful sword. Online commenters interpreted the coiling description as a perfect match for the shape seen in the modified pictures. They also cited the King of Pride in Job. Job 41 has a detailed account of a sea beast that no man can tame, with scales so close together that no air can come between them. This description was used to explain why the creature appeared so distinct in the satellite imagery, almost as if it were armor. Finally, many users used the enormous red dragon of Revelation 12, which had 7 heads and 10 horns, and is identified as Satan. This connection was reinforced by the idea that the beast rises out of the sea to lead the world astray in the final days. This story spread quickly because of this idea that the current online environment is saturated with automated content that amplifies extreme narratives. As users used the Leviathan tag, the algorithms began serving the tag in increasing amounts, creating a feedback loop where the digital hoax and the biblical text became linked. For those primed to expect an end-time scenario, the Scotia Ark transposed was a warning. Church leaders note that this type of fear-based interpretation of events has been historically used to manipulate believers, though many followers in 2026 viewed their discovery as a form of grassroots spiritualism. The Virginia Leviathan is the latest in a series of viral mapping anomalies that have captivated the internet over the past 2 decades. Similar firestorm erupted over a 120-meter-long Kraken that was reportedly spotted on Google Earth near Deception Island, Antarctica. Conspiracy theories pointed to massive disturbances in the water that appeared to have tentacles. However, marine biologists confirmed that the monster was sail rock, a 30-mile-high rock that resembles a ship's sail. The body of the Kraken was simply the rock, and the tentacles were the wakes and waves crashing against it in the currents of the Southern Ocean. In April 2014, images from Apple Maps appeared to show a 100-foot-long creature swimming in Loch Ness. Sure, the Loch Ness Monster. The shape appeared to have large flippers and a big old tail. But forensic analysis by image experts revealed that Nessie was actually the wake of a boat. And the boat itself was invisible because the satellite image didn't pick it up. Because the boat was moving, it was caught in one frame and not the other, leaving only this wake behind as some sort of ghostly monster. Even more recently, a video from the TikTok account Hidden on Google Earth claimed to have found a massive reptilian creature near Guichan Island in Taiwan. The video showed people in a boat next to a monster with 2 glowing eyes. Snopes and mapping experts identified this as a total hoax created by mixing genuine satellite data with CGI animations from the Godzilla movies. This shows that the entertainment aspect of creating these fake map anomalies have creators intentionally manufacturing monsters for engagement on social media. A lot of these anomalies are intentional forgeries, but some are the result of zombie data, errors in digital database for decades or even centuries. And one case of this is the Sandy Island in the Coral Sea. Sandy Island was charted for over a century, appearing on maps as a landmass about the size of Manhattan between Australia and New Caledonia. It appeared on British Admiralty charts as early as 1908 and was included in the World Vector Shoreline Database, which is used by Google Earth and other digital mapping tools. In 2012, a team of Australian geoscientists sailed to the island's coordinates and found nothing but open ocean with a depth of 1,400 meters. The island had never existed. People believe the original 19th century report of the island by the whaling ship Velocity was actually a sighting of a pumice raft, a massive floating island of volcanic rock ejected from an underwater eruption. Because the database was digitized from these old paper charts, the error was locked into the digital age until it was manually removed. And this shows how the Leviathan phenomenon spread so fast. The modern user has trust in digital mapping. And that trust is so absolute that they often forget that these systems are built on layers of historical data, which could be flawed or deliberately tampered with, as is the case here. The Leviathan hoax was successful because of the way our brains work. There are two psychological phenomena that drive this: Pareidolia and Apophenia. Pareidolia is the tendency of the human visual system to extract meaningful patterns, usually faces, from random noises. Studies have shown that people who tend to believe in paranormal beliefs are significantly more likely to identify face-like or creature-like patterns in ambiguous things. When a user looks at the complex ridges of the Scotia arc, their brain automatically searches for some sort of animal or human thing, such as a snake or a dragon, to make sense of what they're seeing. Apophenia is the broader tendency to perceive connections between unrelated events. The 2026 Leviathan phenomena was a perfect case of collective apophenia. By priming the audience with this disturbing image, creators ensured that anything else, such as a snowstorm or a military training exercise, could be viewed as part of a grand, sinister narrative. What happened was the audience was primed with this scary image. So the creators of this hoax could take anything that happens afterwards, like a snowstorm, to be viewed as this disturbing, upsetting story. Digital pareidolia is effective because things like satellite images appear to have scientific objectivity. The general public lacks the specific training to distinguish between a boat wake and a submerged beast. This fact where people are ignorant is where internet folklore flourishes. The reaction to the Leviathan off the coast of Virginia is a story about modern social dynamics. It shows the growing divide between traditional knowledge, such as scientific debunking, and internet-based belief systems. Statements like, "My God, the Leviathan is waking up near Virginia," were shared by both genuine believers and those who found the theory funny. This let the story penetrate multiple internet subcultures, from evangelical prophecy watchers to weird history enthusiasts, and of course, the meme people. A common reaction on Twitter during the height of the craze was a reflection on human nature. It's incredible how the internet has destroyed the notion that people were more reasonable than medieval peasants. This captures the paradox of the digital age. We have more access to high-resolution data than ever before, yet the data is used to fuel the same fears that have existed since the dawn of humanity. Sorry to break it to you, the Leviathan off the Virginia coast is a fabrication. It's a composite of tectonic data from the Scotia arc, educational markers from a river study website, and the opportunistic timing of a massive snowstorm. However, this Leviathan is real in a different sense. It represents the awakening of a new form of digital folklore, where the artifacts of science, like satellites and radar and global databases, can be enchanted with ancient myths. We live in a complex and technologically mandated world, and the Leviathan reflects our anxieties about the environment. It shows that people still believe in grand military conspiracies, and that we still don't understand our ultimate place in the universe. The Leviathan did not and is not rising from the ocean. It rose from Photoshop. And the fact that people have a desire to find a deeper meaning in the noise of our lives. It's likely that we're going to continue to see these types of monsters emerging on social media, of people using Photoshop to stitch together supposed creatures. Because no matter how much of our world becomes certain, the human imagination will always find a place to see a serpent in the sea. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Make sure that you like and share this video. If you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a member. For $1.99, you can get access to exclusive content and exclusive video. You can also support the channel by continuing to watch my videos, and I appreciate you watching my videos. And please stay spooky.